Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am really excited to have you guys here at our K-12 Educator's Guide to MISchoolData. This is a part of our statewide webinar series, and we are very excited that you guys can join us either live or watching the recording. Today's broadcast is a part of our MISchoolData Train the Trainer network and a part of the statewide resources that we provide as part of professional development around MISchoolData. Today's broadcast, I am joined in the house by my colleague, Dr. Rhonda Provost. I've also got Christy Martin on the line, as well as myself, and we represent the ISD leadership. We also are rounded out by Kathy Miller. And so today's resources are part of a growing amount of resources with regard to professional development. As many of you know, we went into redesign, and so lots of great and exciting things to be shared today. I am also joined today on the broadcast by several of our members of our regional advisory. Dr. Lisa Lockman, Stan Masters, they are part of our regional advisory that help provide professional development across our state. So after today's broadcast, if you do have questions about this resource or any additional, please reach out to them. They can tell you what's going on in your region and some of the exciting new things that are happening. Lots of PD opportunities coming down the pipe with the redesign. Many of you are on the broadcast today to kind of get technical updates as well as find out what's out there for you to support your locals. You'll notice on this slide we've got some hyperlinks for you with the MISchoolData webinar series, which is today and several throughout the school year. We also are giving you a sneak peek to our professional development toolkit, which is actually a part of the MISchoolData redesign site. You will be able to locate that in the support resources. Lots of great things going to be posted over the coming months with the PD toolkit. And then also linked on this page is our very popular News and Notes for School Leaders. That is a monthly publication that comes out from Dr. Provost, goes out through our listserv. If you are interested in any of these resources, we've linked them here in our slide deck. If you're interested in sketches, either through the live broadcast or viewing this as a virtual recording, this hyperlink will take you to the specific and very unique materials that you will need for just this broadcast. You'll click on that session attendance link. It'll bring you into a back channel where you will record your attendance. You'll notice that you are asked to talk a little bit about how you might define, connect, or apply the new learning from today's session, as well as a unique link to the PDF that is the sketch form that you need to complete. So if you're interested in sketches after today's broadcast, go ahead and follow up by clicking on that sketch form. Today's learning objectives for our broadcast. We really want you to know how to access and navigate in the MISchoolData redesign. We're going to talk a little bit about some secure logins and why a K-12 educator needs one. We'll take you into the education dashboard, the educator persona, and some K-12 resources within the site in the menus. We'll help you to make some connections across the board to all the resources in the site, and then hopefully we'll challenge you to take what you learn and apply it in your local district. We've got some agenda items, and we've kind of broken it into three areas. Define, where we'll talk a little bit about what is this thing called MISchoolData and what's new. Then we'll help you to connect those resources. We'll actually dig into some state initiatives and see what in the portal will help connect that, as well as how to get in there. And then lastly, we'll show you where you can apply it. We'll give you some screenshots and some materials to take back to your locals, and we'll show you live on the prod site what's coming when redesign is out there and everybody is digging in. So with that said, I believe I am turning it over to the redesign overview. Let's go into the overview first, and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Provost. All right, so if you are not familiar with the MISchoolData portal, it is the state data portal. It is mostly educational data, but there is workforce, career tech ed, post-secondary data. There's lots of levels of information that is in here in educational data from PK all the way to 20, as well as workforce. A lot of data sources, including many that we use as educators. If you're in central office, you know a lot of these acronyms like the FID, the EEM, MSDS, etc. But lots of data sources coming into MISchoolData for us to use it. And then some of the positives about our site is that It has multiple formats. You can look at it in a graph, you can look at it in a table, you can download it, you can share it. Lots of great ways for you to view the data as well as use it for your own uses at your local level. And lastly, we'll talk a little bit about how this portal is going to be connecting to some state initiatives, from MyKib to the local data sources and the data hub, as well as connections to other, like the top 10 strategies and initiatives. So that is our overview of the portal. We did mention that the data comes from a lot of different sources. This is a great visual if you're doing professional development to kind of help your folks understand where the data is coming from, where CEPI gets that data to push into the portal. After today's broadcast, you may have need to jump into from the legacy site to the new site. For a short window of time, CEPI is going to be allowing us to use the existing or the legacy site, which was our previous site. You will be able to access that by going to legacy.myschooldata.org, and that is a very limited window. Once that window closes, you will be going to, obviously, when you hit the MySchoolData.org domain or website, you will be coming to the fabulous, the wonderful, redesigned MySchoolData. So we did want to make sure that you saw there is going to be a short window for you to access the old site in case that's more in your comfort zone, but it will be a snapshot of what it was in time, and everything moving forward will be on the redesigned site. So with that said, I am going to turn it over to Dr. Provost, who's going to talk a little bit about some of the exciting things that are happening in the new site. Dr. Provost, take it away.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. I'm going to start today with what's new in the portal. As you are aware, we have many features in the portal. There will be new ways for data and tools that are available. We also are very excited about the new features for the search bar that include navigation, personas, very similar to what's happening with MyKip with the persona landing pages. And also we're going to share some reports with you and what's trending now and how that communication will be rolled out. So when you look at the new landing page or home page, when you get to the portal, at the top menu bar are 4 different areas for connections, education map, support, and sign in. The first one is connections. And what you're going to see here is many of the reports or reporting requirements, some are done at the building level, some are done at the central office. You're going to be able to link right to those websites from the connections pull-down menu in the MySchoolData portal. The next area is the education map, and that shows you basically the lay of the land of Michigan and how interactive we are with exploring other ISDs. This feature was a little bit available before, like if we were looking for a CTE program in a certain area, but this is just a really quick way to find facts and click on and find out about those various programs that are located across the state. Next, we have the support, and Dr. Parker talked about the wonderful professional development toolkit that will be placed in the portal as we create courses and migrate to our Train the Trainer Network legacy. All of that opportunity for learning venues will be available here. And then of course the help and support. And there also is a key vocabulary in the site that will allow those of you to look up glossary terms and whatnot. And then of course the FAQs and the contact information is located here as well. And then lastly is the login or sign in, I guess it's called, on the actual menu bar. And this will allow you, when you pull that menu down, a My Login Worker or a My Login Third Party. And I think it's been about April or May since we've been talking about the MySchoolData Third Party. But beginning in July, under the redesigned model, secure users needed to migrate to the third-party account login. And Dr. Parker is going to talk a little bit more about that. But this is the area on the website where the sign-in would occur. And just remember that our privileges, are determined by our ISD, and she'll talk more about that. So another feature that's very exciting, all the way to the right hand of your home page, is a little, what I want to say, like a micro lens for you to search. And with the new search feature, you will be able to locate different areas that you are attempting to search or where you would go about finding them. And then when you actually find an area that you're interested in, it'll provide you with those results, and then you can obviously navigate from there. So that search feature is wonderful. And then below the darkened area of the home page, you will find the main menus that are available: dashboard, education focus areas, early childhood, K-12, student subgroups, post-secondary, workforce. Those are all the menus. And then information for, this is the new personas. Educators, it's available for educators, parents, policymakers, and media. And we're going to talk a little more about these, but the expansion for the educators, it was really created teachers for teachers, was how it was presented to us. So those will be the personas. On the navigation bar, today's topic is on the K-12 Educators Guide. So we're going to really focus on all of the components to the K-12, what's applicable. But you'll notice to the left are all of the links to the page that you can, submenus that you can dig a little deeper if you're looking for those particular areas, such as student accountability, etc. But one of the new features that's available with the portal is anytime you click down one of these main menus, you will see what is most popular and what the recent updates have been. So usually you get that communication through CEPI announcements. Well, now it's going to show you here, you will still get those, but it'll show you here what was recently updated in various reports. So that's a new part of the navigation bar. The next area is the featured tools. In particular, the trending now and featured dashboards are what we're highlighting today, but allows the users for direct navigation and explanations of important tools that are available, such as trending now, student enrollment, staffing information, or retained and grade. And this is just a snapshot of what you would find on those screens, such as featured dashboards. And then pinhole, this may be a new term, but think of pinhole as reports from the old legacy site, or that will be considered in the legacy site. It's data that's coming from an outside source, and they consider it through the redesign effort as a pinhole. So for example, if you're pulling down the parent dashboard legacy site, MyKIP will be pulling reports from the MISchoolData through that pinhole. So that's just a way of how those two are transacting in the redesign efforts. All right.
And so you'll turn it over to me. We'll talk about connecting to state initiatives. So that was pretty exciting to see what's new and what's hot in the redesign site, some of those technical updates. Let's talk a little bit about how it's going to connect to things that are going on in our state. One of the big ones is the Top 10 Strategic Education Plan, formerly called the Top 10 in 10. Know that CEPI is actively involved with MDE and trying to help the portal assist in reaching that Top 10 initiative. And the other piece that has really weighed heavy on the minds of a lot of educators in K-12 is our continuous improvement process and the connections between the MISchoolData portal, our local data warehouses, this thing called the Data Hub, and then the MyKIP, the new MyKIP system. And so Kathy Miller has created a really helpful document that was published by MAISA that goes through each one of those so that when you are talking to your stakeholders, they can understand what is going to be the responsibility of what is coming through the MISchoolData portal, what will come through your data warehouse, how they use that information highway of the Data Hub to move things in, as well as how do you pull data from these resources in the MyKIP system to use that for your continuous improvement process. So there are several indicators of what will be coming through the Data Hub. And the Data Hub is kind of like a highway which will exchange data. Data will come from local sources up through this data exchange into the MyKIP system or into the system. There are a list of indicators here to kind of help you with describing what that is and how that works. We've also provided you with some resources about what you're going to find in MISchoolData, what state level achievement or demographic data or workforce or mostly achievement and demographic data coming through the MISchoolData portal. We've also tried to give you some guidance with what your stakeholders or what you are going to access with your local data warehouse from your student information system or your local performance systems. What are those data sets that maybe would not end up in the MISchoolData system that you're still going to need for your triangulation of data when you're looking at continuous improvement? So the last element is the MyKIP system, which is coming soon. And some of you may be a part of that pilot. You may be anxiously awaiting its launch in January, but know that I know Dr. Provost talked a little bit about pinholes. The MyKIP system will be bringing MISchoolData through its pinhole, and you'll actually be seeing some of the reports from MISchoolData populating in the MyKIP system, and that's what we call the pinhole or coming through on the pinhole. So that's a little bit about connecting them to your local data warehouse, the data hub, MISchoolData, help you with the conversations with the state initiatives. So with that said, I am going to turn it back to Rhonda. Do you want to talk a little bit about the access to the portal with the third-party login, or would you like me to go there?
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, all right. So we talked a little bit about earlier about the third-party login on MyLogin. If you were part of the matching process over the summer, you'll note that very hats off to Tim Davis and to Christy Martin and their hard work over the summer in taking the users that were out there and trying to match them and reach out and bring them into the new system. Seppi was really excited that 80% of our existing users came into the new system, and you needed to have a MyLogin for third-party account to be matched to your old MISchoolData legacy account, and now you are moving to the new site. If you are one of those 20% that were not matched, you did not create a MyLogin third-party account, you will need to create one, and you will be considered a new user, and you will need to go through the process to get a new account. If you need help with your MyLogin third-party account, that is not something you will ask your ISD about. Many of we've become very supportive of, or maybe we've become very dependent on our ISDs to help us with our MISchoolData logins. At this point, you'll need help from the MyLogin third-party folks for your third-party login. The only thing that your local ISD is going to be able to help you with is the permissions and the access in the portal, but you must have a third-party account first of all. We will follow the same protocols that we've been following. You must do the FERPA HIPAA compliance with your ISD, and then let us know what is your role in your organization. If you wear the accountability hat, you'll indicate that on your application form. If you need school improvement permission, or if you're a school administrator, again, the process will be similar to what we're used to, but we can't do anything unless you first start with your MyLogin third-party account. There are several things to consider when you're an educator in K-12. Do all of your teachers or educators need a login? We recommend that if they are going to be using the MISchoolData portal and need to get to some of the student level data, or they're on the continuous improvement team, you are going to want them to have educator secure login access. There are many basic things that are out there and open to the public, but we do recommend that you do request a secure login if you are a K-12 educator. All right, we are going to shift gears here to the apply section, and we're going to talk a little bit about applying the navigation of the menus and personas. So I will turn that over to you, Dr. Provost.
Okay. All right, so beginning with the navigation, excuse me, of menus. You saw this earlier. basically it's going to be, we have now what we call landing pages, but you have your top bar, then your menu bar, and then when you pull those down, they will be referenced as landing pages, and the same will be applicable to the personas. So when we look at persona pages, basically the highlight here is really for educators. We found that there was quite a bit of information that has been tracked here and placed for the educator persona area. Some of the features may be quickly, determined by looking at the dashboards, looking at different reports. What are the state testing reports? And again, this is very applicable to educators and would be helpful if they did have a login while they're navigating through this process. So when we look at the data insights for the K-12 educators, this is what has been designed through this new launch. Again, I talked about the featured dashboards and the reports, but accountability and transparency, looking, finding a location or some examples, of course, special ed, early childhood, everything from, K-12 to post-secondary, looking at comparisons for schools, staffing information, and then report updates. And we have a screenshot to the right, what that looks like with all of those accesses that are available.
And if we go to the live site, you'll notice that here on the left-hand side under Educator is that data and insights for K-12 educators. So by persona, you come live, and all of these are interactive. You scroll down, there's lots of key pieces that we would have had to dig for in the old site, in the legacy site, but now they're at our fingertips. A lot of times we're looking for the high school state testing. Maybe we're looking for 3-8 testing. It's here. I'm an educator. It's kind of like my quick dashboard and my quick links to things that I usually am digging. So that is the educator persona.
Live,
absolutely live.
and there's been a couple questions in the chat if this slide deck PowerPoint will be available, and yes, it will.
It absolutely
I responded to one, but I just saw it come up again when you were talking, Jen.
And we'll revisit the hyperlink, the quick tiny URL at the end of the broadcast. So thanks for those questions, absolutely. Okay, so now let's shift gears here. We talked a little bit about the educator persona. Now let's shift to another area of the portal called dashboards and education focus areas. So the dashboard and education focus area really is all about that 30,000 foot view. And when we used to give our school stakeholders a tour, we would say, oh, we want to go to our schools at a glance. We want to go to the parent dashboard. We want to see the old My Dashboard. So what CEPI has done with the new portal, is the redesign, is they have put that 30,000 foot view for a district into these dashboard and education focus areas. You'll come in first to, when you click on the dashboard and education focus area, you'll come into the home page, or the landing page is what they're calling them, where you've got some quick links to these in the dashboard and some quick links in the education focus area. If I go specifically to dashboards, they give you a direct link to the education dashboard, or district practices, parent dashboard, and our schools at a glance. Those are great metrics for us to use. They give you the finger on the pulse of that 30,000 foot view of the district. The next option is the education focus, okay? I want to dig into the accountability for that district. I want to see where the kids are going post-secondary wise. And so those are the two main reports that are there in the education focus areas. So if I go live to the site, I'm going to find this here in dashboard and education focus areas. Notice here, when I click on this, it'll bring me to my home page, which takes me to my dashboards or my education focus, or I can use the drop down, specifically go to the dashboards, and it will take me out to the parent dashboard, or our schools at a glance. I'm just going to quickly link on our schools at a glance, and you'll notice this does have a little bit of a old look and feel to the redesigned site, or the legacy site. as I come in, I'm seeing the legacy site coming in through the pinhole. And so a lot of times you'll know the old site or the legacy site because of the color scheme. Don't let it fool you. Those colors are subject to change as we are evolving in the redesigned site. But just wanted to let you know that you're seeing things come through the dashboard and focus areas in the dashboard. A lot of things come through in the pinhole. So I'm going to come back up to our dashboard. I'm going to move next to the education focus areas. And you'll see there are 2 listed here. This list will possibly grow. If I go out to school and district accountability, it'll give me a list of what schools are required to report. There are several elements here, from school grades to school index to the parent dashboard. You can access the old annual ed report, or these are coming in the fall, as well as 31A at risk. So a lot of the things that we previously in the legacy site accessed in what was called data and workforce, now we are coming in to use that parent dashboard there easily at our fingertips. So I'm going to leave the dashboard and I'm going to talk a little bit about the next section that a K-12 educator would be looking at. So when you look at applying the K-12 session or the K-12 section of the portal, this is up in the K-12 menu, okay? Dashboard is in the menu, K-12 is in the menu. This is where we're going to spend some of our time. You'll see several of the sub-menu items that you are familiar with, that you've seen for a while, but they always lead each menu with a landing page. And as Dr. Provost mentioned earlier, they've given you the most popular and the recent updates here at your fingertips also, just for quick access. You can go into students and do your student count. You can do your graduation and dropout rate, etc. All the things that you were used to in these menus are still there, but they've got a new look and feel. So we'll take a look at this live here in just a couple of minutes. So the first place you'll come in K-12 is that landing page. You'll notice there are a lot of hot links. I think if I was working with my continuous improvement teams, I would bring them here to the K-12 landing page first. This is a great place for them to see the hyperlinks, see a one-stop shopping of what is available to K-12 educators, and get into the inquiry right out of the gate. We've listed for you several of the hot links that are in those sections, from CTE to special education to state testing. You'll notice that special education does not have its own private Idaho in the portal as of yet. It is part of the K-12 piece. So all those elements are listed in the K-12 landing page. To navigate, you'll start in the menus, you'll hit K-12, you'll pick from your sub-menus, and then you'll be able to run those reports. Pick the report that you want to run. Once you are into that report, it will ask you to edit the report settings. And this is similar to what we used to do in the legacy site with the yellow edit report button. Now it's got a fresh look. We've got some updated inquiry settings. And you'll notice that when you type in the name of the district, it will shorten and filter your sort. So if I hit L on the keyboard, it'll take me to Lapeer County, or whatever the L, or Lenawee, or whatever the L's are in our state for those counties or those ISDs. So there's a lot of great functionality that have been added into these edit report settings. You'll see a similar look and feel with the menus and the sub-menus. The filtering is improved. You can still print and share, and you can always go into about this report if you wonder, hey, where did they get this information? So that would be the second step in your navigation. So let's move from that K-12 landing page and a little bit about navigating, and we're going to briefly go quickly through each one of the menus so you'll see what has remained from the legacy and maybe some of the things that are transitioning here. In the student submenu, you're still going to see non-resident, your schools of choice, your graduation dropout, attendance, student enrollment, mobility, and then additional data files that you used to have to go find are now here. You'll next move to school accountability, which is obviously our at-risk and our school index. These used to be their own list on the menu, they've now been combined. So everything related to school accountability is in a one-stop shop. We really appreciate this change in this update. The next piece is state testing. From the career and college readiness piece, 3rd through 8th grade, you'll notice that the PSAT will be in here. Lots of data sets that we were used to in state assessments are now called state testing. This will definitely be growing and evolving. And many of you were not aware that there were professional learning resources that were posted out here by a variety of state organizations to help you with state testing. So that area is also growing. When you move to English learner data, you've got not only a dashboard, but also the assessments and the student growth that's required for reporting. Again, special ed doesn't have its own menu anymore. It is now part of K-12, but you will feel that you are in the special ed menu from the legacy site. You'll see from the continuity to searching by program or by disability, a lot of the functionality that was there in the legacy site has been brought over and improved in the redesigned site. So again, special ed is now in K-12. The post-secondary section, where you're looking maybe through the lens of a high school counselor, or you're looking as a LCAN advisor, or maybe you're just looking at your rates of where students are leaving and going to in higher education. There are 6 reports out there from if they're on track in college, where they have progressed from their graduating class, maybe if they left you and had to do remedial coursework in math or English, that's a good indicator of what maybe if we need to beef up. And as well as some trend data. So that post-secondary by high school, those are the reports. They are quick access and they take you into your edit report settings. The last couple of reports or last couple of submenus, in the K-12 menu are career technical ed. And if you have not been in the CTE section in a while, these submenus are very robust. This almost looks like its own unique area in the portal. We can take a look here in a minute, but they have combined a lot of our workforce as well as CTE connections here in the career technical ed submenu. And there are 7 reports and those are growing. The staffing, if you are interested in staffing, from the counts to the effectiveness, there are 3 reports that are available in staffing, and you'll notice that this also shows up in your parent dashboard and with your accountability information. The financial and district school information submenu, there are 9 reports out there. This has definitely evolved. Many of the data reports that you had to download are now here, from your counts to your balance sheets, to your income statements, to your closings, to the quick facts, which quick facts are a really great way. It looks a little bit like our schools at a glance, but the financial and district school information is a nice dashboard and a nice way for you to get a look and feel about your district. And then the last one, K-12 data files. You used to have to go to a separate part of the portal to download these. Now it's built right into the K-12 menu. If you want K-12 data files, it's the last stop on the K-12 menu train, and you fill in these indicators on your edit report and make sure you click on the button to push the report. And these, when you are asking for a K-12 data file, it will send you actually a link to your email to click on to bring up the report. So make sure you have privileges to download data files if that is something that is in your job description and you need to do. So that is the K-12 data files. Now, a couple things before we go live in that section. Want to remind you that you used to use the yellow edit report button. Now it's got a new look and feel. And these are all very simple, but one little thing that you might want to take note of is you definitely need to click the blue update report. Once you've got your inquiry settings in there, make sure you click the blue update report button so that it generates or pushes or submits your inquiry settings to the new portal, and then it will push down your reports below. Now, many times they'll come in the version of a pinhole report. But another look and feel, it might take you to a new screen. So lots of different options, lots of look and feel, but use the edit report settings and the update report to push your inquiry. All right. So before I take you to the subgroups, I'm going to take you here live to the site, to the K-12. I'm going to do a simple student report, and I'm going to go in and do graduation dropout rate, and you're going to see just kind of what it looks like in the live environment. You'll notice we've got the menus, we've got the personas. I am in the K-12. It's got my breadcrumb trail, which I really appreciate, so that I can still have the, know where I'm at. And I've got my inquiry settings. So I'm going to go to Macomb, and actually it remembers me because I did a Macomb search. I've got my Anchor Bay, all schools in my district, and I'm looking at these inquiry settings, and I'm just going to look at my graduation and dropout rate. To push that report, you're going to click on that blue edit report button, and it's going to populate coming in from the pinhole. And something new that we really appreciate is up here, the breadcrumb trail, and it looks a little bit different. It lets you kind of navigate and remember where you are and what you're running. If you're an ISD person, you might be running inquiries for several different districts. If you're local, you might be running for several different buildings. But those location and report settings are very helpful in helping us to remember where we're at when we're navigating. You'll see several of our popular pieces from the legacy site, from the snapshot, trend, and entity breakdown, and student breakdown. If you have access, you can download and print it. And as always, you're able to see the graph in a lot of different ways, as well as that table feature that we've known and loved. And just a reminder again, those colors could change as they're coming in through the pinhole, but we still are getting the quality information that we've always come to appreciate in the MISchoolData portal. Lastly, before I leave this section, this new piece here, this share button, lets you pop out and you can share it by quickly grabbing a bit.ly or a quick little tiny URL, bit.ly, abbreviated web link that you can share, copy and paste it into an email and push it out. So that is how simple it is to run all of these data inquiries and access in the new redesigned portal. I'll also mention, I'm going to leave the student, I'm going to go to state testing, and just kind of a couple of things that have not changed, the data tools for school improvement. Even though we are evolving to a new continuous improvement process, there are still several inquiries that are common to whatever you are doing in school improvement or continuous improvement. So those links have remained here, so you've got quick access. There's also the links that we mentioned earlier to those professional learning resources, and student growth is now here, which was a part of the legacy updates at the very end. And lots of great tools here in state testing. And again, all the way through down to K-12 data files. Make sure you make the request. Again, it will email you. You'll get a hot link and it'll bring you back. All right, so that is the K-12 menu. Now, there is now a new way for you to access subgroup information. Subgroups now has its own private Idaho in the MISchoolData redesigned site. They have their own real estate up on the menu bar called student subgroups, and they allow us to break down or break out and disaggregate the data that we may need. We've broken this down for you in the slide deck, so you see the subgroups that are currently in the portal and know that these are growing. We know that there are several other subgroups that we track and that we're interested in. And as those come into the portal or are part of what we have at our fingertips, those will be growing in that subgroup section. Early middle college, economically disadvantaged, English learners, homeless, migrants, gender, foster care, military, race, ethnicity, and students with disabilities. All of these are the subgroups that we commonly monitor, and they now have their own workspace or own menu space in MISchoolData. What you'll do is come into student subgroups, you will pick the subgroup that you are interested in, and then it will automatically view those reports or bring you into the inquiry piece where you're going to enter additional information. You can get student enrollment reports, you can get K-3 absenteeism, so you'll further disaggregate down those reports as you pick that subgroup. And then lastly, there's those inquiry settings. Again, don't forget the blue button to update your report. That's how we roll in most of the portal. Use the update report button. So I will take us back to the portal here. I want to take us quickly into student subgroups before we go to our closing and let you know that these subgroups, again, are the ones that are listed in that table. You'll see that it's quick to go quickly to the view reports and run those reports. Those drop down, notice you can look at all or by content or by locations. You have some additional inquiry settings. You also have the share feature where you can push these out. And what has been very successful with this redesign and something that we've been asking for many, many, many years, this search box is now a part of how we roll no matter where we are in the portal. So the search box is fabulous. Alrighty, so just to kind of recap, in the live site, I'm going to come back to the MISchoolData Live homepage. You've got connections here where you come out to other entities or platforms that you were a part of, from the BAA Secure to, you can read them, all those acronyms that are out in our state education system and beyond. You can access those by clicking on the connect. The education map is that feature that we've kind of known and used in our parent dashboard in our career and college readiness. That map now is a map that's functional throughout the whole site. The support, where you'll find our evolving professional development kit and your help. Again, your login up here, your menus across the top, your personas, depending on who you are. And then on the home page, there are these quick trend features and connections that you can access. You'll notice we've got a comparison feature coming soon where you'll be able to compare what we used to do in the legacy site was compared to districts that were alike. That is now going to be much more robust functionality. So that is coming soon. Be watching for that on the homepage. Some quick data snapshots for things that we commonly may need to grab on as a K-12 educator, from economically disadvantaged to English learners to enrollments, etc. Over here are some spotlighted reports for education focus. There's our map. And then there will be some connections down here to some other initiatives that are evolving, such as MyKIP. So lots of great resources on the homepage. That is that quick tour. I'm going to bring us back to our closing. And I am going to turn it over to Rhonda and take us home, Rhonda.
All right. Well, that's been quite a tour for educators looking at from the K-12 perspective. Just a couple other points that I'd like to bring up is, as users, we may have a perception out there, why do we need to use MISchoolData? Because our academic data, we had no state assessments in the 2019-20 school year. Well, as you can see, this site has really been designed or redesigned as a one-stop shop. All of those connections that we're making to other state initiatives, as well as access to those other entities. Many educators have them bookmarked. However, when you think of new educators coming into different roles, especially this time of year, how resourceful this can be. So we really appreciate the work that our regional advisory and our Big Ten have been engaged in over the past year with the newness of this coming forward. And we really want our connections to continue and enhance the resources for educators across the state of Michigan as we grow. And our learning platforms have been, changed this year to all virtual. So with that said, your contacts are listed here as far as any follow-up you may need with your regional advisory. More information on the professional development toolkit, that is being redesigned also, as we are updating our courses and our slide decks that will be basically available to you within, this school year. So we have several webinars that are scheduled through the school year, and those links are in this PowerPoint that you will have a copy of. Any technical updates from today's presentation, please feel free to email the CEPI Help Desk. That email is provided, as well as if you have to establish a MyLogin third party. We have a link there to visit the MyLogin Help page to assist users in that process. And then any other login inquiries, feel free to contact your technical update that's established at your ISD or RESA or RESD. And then, of course, for the TTT network, which we are all part of, follow-up contact can be with Dr. Jennifer Parker or Kathy Miller, and they will certainly assist you. We also want to remind you about today's sketches. The session will be recorded, and you will get a virtual link back to the recording. There is one sketchy available for our webinar sessions, so please feel free to complete the spreadsheet, download the form, and you will be able to obtain your sketches for attending today. Any other questions? I think I looked at everything in the chat box. Unless there's anything else, that will conclude today's session, and we thank you very much for joining us today.